Hello there survivors, and welcome back to another build tutorial in ARK Survival Ascended. This time it's for my Steampunk Starter Base, or just small house design that you can use early on in game, or if you just want a small house, maybe because you're building a little steampunk village with your friends. I think it's a quite nice design. It has a little greenhouse so you can start growing some of those plants for the useful seeds, but also you just have a nice little interior, and it does look quite nice from the outside as well, including a little tower to the side. This build does include some overlapping in the basic design that I made for myself, but during the tutorial I have provided guides and changes that you can use if you want to try and build something similar to this on official settings as well. As always, if you enjoy these build guides and you want to see more of them, make sure you have liked the video, subscribe to the channel, and if you want to show even more support, consider becoming a YouTube member. Tier 2 actually includes early access to every video that I post, including of course the build tutorials. And with that out of the way, let's get into the build. As always, we're going to start with the foundation. You need a foundation that is 3 wide to start with and 6 long in total. So just like this. And then of course you want to make sure that you fill it all in for the main room that we're going to build. Then you got to decide if this is your front where you want to have the greenhouse. I'm going to build it here on the right. And where you want the other addition to the house, that's going to be on the left for me. The greenhouse is going to start 1 from the beginning. It's going to be 2 wide. And then we're going to build out by 2. So it's just going to be a little square. And then we'll have some triangle foundations as well to kind of round off the greenhouse section. Since it's just a starter house, we're not going too big. And then here on the other side, we also want to make an addition of 2 by 2. That's going to be the extra room to the side. And then of course I have a little tower on the corner of my build. I personally have done it like this because I have overlapping enabled, so I can go into the normal foundation a little bit. If you do not have that option but you still want a tower, what you could do is make a little hallway of a normal foundation and then just make the circular shapes with the triangle right there, so that it's a little bit more detached from the building, but then you don't have to do any overlapping to make the tower work, and you can still kind of just attach it to the build that way. But for my design, I'm gonna keep it right here on the corner of the build. Then it's time to take out our metal gateways, because I like to use those as like the border for big windows. So we'll have one right here next to the greenhouse portion, and then another one right here at the end of this little addition to the side of the building. Now, I'm not quite sure if this works if you have official settings, because I can still place walls down here. If you can't do that, then just use pillars to make a little border around the window. And then the way we do it, it doesn't really matter, by the way, which textures or which structures you use. I just use metal to make it strong, but you can definitely just pick any material since we are skinning pretty much everything here. So we fill in all of these walls, and then if you take out the frontier skin, you can easily turn them into windows. Of course, there's other options for windows, like other custom cosmetics if you like those better, or even some other mods like ASR. That's how I got the stained glass windows in my original design. But just to make it more accessible, you can easily use this, or of course just use greenhouse glass. Speaking of greenhouse, we're going to start with the little greenhouse addition. It's quite easy. We're just going to make the walls 2 high, just to get a small little greenhouse going, because it's quite useful to have one on Aberration to start growing the plants for their seeds that you use for taming a bunch of different things. So we want to have the walls 2 high. Then we'll take out our roof, and we'll start for this portion just with a nice and easy roof like this. Then we'll take out our triangles and finish the rest of the roof like that. Then we want to take out our railings and have some here on top, and I actually like to have them here along the sides as well. And then here at the end we want to have pillars. That's going to be 4 high in total. So Just gonna go up all the way like this. And that is basically our greenhouse. But of course, we're gonna change the look with some skins. First of all, we're gonna grab the steampunk skin and change the floors to the new floor. We're gonna change these pillars like so. And then of course, we'll change all the railings to look a lot nicer, as well as the roof pieces right here, just to get that nice new steampunk look going on, which really will help here. And then we're actually going to change these roof variants to have the little window in them, just by interacting with them. That looks a little bit nicer. The same we're going to do here at the pillars to change them into the stone variants. It's a little bit annoying that you have to do this by hand for each and every single one that you need to change. I really still hope they will change that someday, but for now, this is the only way. And then, of course, there's also a way to make your greenhouse look nicer. Now, we could use the Frontier Glass skin again, if you do not have any others, but you could also install some custom cosmetics to make it look nicer. I personally really like the Klinger's Rustic skins, and they are custom cosmetics, so you can use them unofficial as well. And I feel like these fit in very nicely with the theme, but they look a little bit fancier for a greenhouse than the normal Frontier ones. So I would recommend using those. So that is our little greenhouse done. Now let's continue with the rest of the build. All right, first of all, let's finish this wall that we've built the greenhouse at. So we're going to go up with 4 walls right here on the side. We can continue these walls up here as well. And then we'll have another normal wall here on this side. The rest is going to be a little bit more special. First of all, we want to take out sloped walls and make a little shape like this on top of the window. And then just have the rest of the wall filled in. Here, of course, we also kind of want to fill in this shape like so. Then we can have 2 normal walls in here. We can have sloped walls on top of that to kind of just blend in with this shape. And then down here, we want to make sure that we line up the door in the middle. So we'll have some quarter walls on the sides. And then we can have a normal door right here in the middle so that it nicely lines up with the middle of the greenhouse. And of course, that means that we can add in the door as well. We can use our pillars here on the corners, of course, just to reinforce them a little bit. And we'll do that on this corner as well. And then we have our first wall done. What I always like to do is skin the pillars first, because it can be harder to change them to the correct variant if there's other walls next to them. So we're going to change these all to the stone variants to have nice, strong looking corners for our building. And we'll do the same here on this side. And we can start changing some of the skins. The floors, you can just all change. We don't have to change any variants for this, for sure. And then we'll want to change all of these wall skins as well to get a nice steampunk looking wall. We'll do some changing of the variants, but not too many, fortunately, on this side. So what I like to do, instead of having the same skin everywhere, I like to keep it at the bottom and then change it to the metal variants in the middle there. And then at the top, we can also keep it. So here on this corner, we'll do the same thing. We'll turn the middle 2 into the normal metal variant, because that just looks a little bit more clean and is not as busy as otherwise. We want to add a little bit more shape here to the side of the building. So we're going to add a little roof above this window, starting out with 2 normal roofs like this. Now again, if you do have the overlapping, you can still add a ramp like here, which will overlap a little bit into the building, and 1 ramp right there. Without overlapping, I think you might have to leave out this one. You can decide whether you want to keep this one or not. And then we can add in some railings underneath to kind of add the shape again. You can add it here, and once again, this will depend on whether or not you can overlap. And here at the end, what I like to do is make sure you flip it around, have another railing like that, just to add a little bit more shape to this side. And then of course we want to take out our steampunk skin once again and change all these to the right variants so that they look more steampunky and add a nice little bit of shape to the side of this building. Then it's time to start working on the back of the building. We want to add 3 ceilings right here as a little back porch, and then some triangle ceilings as well to round it off a little bit. All right, and then of course we also want to add in the pillars on the other side of the build. And once again, I would recommend changing the skins for these because that's just easier without the interference of any other walls and skins. There we go. Then we want to have a little door here, of course, to be able to access the back porch. And then we want to fill in the rest of these walls like this on the sides, here on top and here above the door. But then this one, we want to have a tall door way, because that's going to be another window. We'll have a greenhouse door in there. And then you want to snap a ladder to the outside. It might sound weird, but it's going to look real nice. And then, of course, we want to add in a door at the bottom too, so that we have a whole wall complete. And, of course, we want to have metal railings along the side of the building here. Grab our steampunk skins, and we can skin all these. Make sure to also skin the actual stairs, because that adds a nice little detail to your window. And personally, I prefer to change these into the glass variant, because I think that looks a little bit nicer, especially here on the outside, where the fancy wood, in my opinion, doesn't make that much sense. So we'll change all these to the nice glass variants. And this is especially nice if you have your balcony hanging over the side of a cliff, of course, because you can actually look down that way. We actually want to replace the walls here next to the window with some quarter walls instead. So we're going to change them to this. Then, of course, we can easily add our skins back in. And we also want to change these variants to metal again, just to make it a little bit more nice to look at. Like, it breaks up the fancy textures everywhere a little bit. And then these new additions that we've just made, we're going to use to build a little roof addition here as well. So we're going to have 2 of these quarter ceilings coming out from the side, so that we can snap our roofs to that and make a little roof above this part. You want to make those 2 roofs on each side. And then we can take out metal ramps and extend the roof outside a little bit. And this will break up this wall shape a little bit, because it will actually extend besides the side of the wall. We want to take out our railings. Make sure to flip it this way around. Add them here on the ends of the roof as well, just to make the nice little shape. And then here on top, we want to add in our railings, and then here at the bottom too, just to get a little bit of nice detail in there. Now, ideally, you want to get some support in here. It can be a little bit tricky, because if you just go down like this, it will overlap through the ceilings, which could be all right, could not look good. If you don't want them to kind of go through your ceilings, what you can do is temporarily place like a little metal ceiling here, and then instead of having it overlap through the ceiling, it will overlap into the pillar, and you will have a nicer look like this. I don't know how this works on official, but in the worst case, you can also leave these pillars out, of course. Then it's time to take out our skins again and make sure that these are all changed to some nice steampunk variants, so that they look nice and lovely, because I do really love the look of these new skins. There we go. We're just gonna make sure that we've changed everything. All right, time for the third side of our building. This one is going to be quite easy. This is just a 4-high wall, and the same right over here as well, just to fill those walls in. And then here we can do the same once more. We can have a 4-high wall right there. And of course, then we're going to run into the tower. If you're going to leave out the tower or have the little hallway, you either have a door here and you can just continue the wall up like normally. We, of course, are going to be building a tower there. And then on top of here, we also just want to add in the walls. Now here on the end of the building, we actually want to add in a layer of our quarter walls right there. And then we can already start with our slope walls to make this little shape for the roof. And then of course it's time to update these skins to the steampunk variant. So we go around and we can change all of them. And of course we want to make sure that we change some of these to the metal variant. So again, the bottom one we want to keep fancy and the top one as well. And the two in between we're going to change to metal on all of these walls that we've just placed. There we go. That breaks up all the craziness a little bit more already. Okay, and then we're gonna focus here on the front. Now, once again, if you have the tower somewhere else because you can't overlap, then of course you'll have to fill in this wall the same way as we do this wall. But for me, if you can overlap, the tower is gonna be there. So we'll just start out with some pillars on both sides of the entrance like this. We of course want to change them to the right variant right away. Change them to stone everywhere. There we go. So we should have something like this. We can add in the walls here on the side, and we can add the walls here as well. Actually, we're going to have a little window here next to the door. And then we're going to have a double door as the entrance. And let's not forget to actually add in the doors for both of these. Then we can, of course, update all these skins to be the steampunk variants. And once again, we want to change these middle ones to the metal variant to break up the textures for this. Although above the door, we can keep it because, of course, we didn't have it at the bottom yet. And to make this a little less flat and our entrance a little bit more special, we're going to add some details to it, starting with a little ramp above. And then depending on your landscape, you probably want to have some stairs in front of the door. This probably doesn't need them too much, but just in case you do need them, you want to add them. And then, of course, you want to have some railings on the side of those stairs as well. We also want to have some railings down the bottom of this. And we want to extend this one with a railing too. And then we want to have some thin pillars going down from the ramp into the floor, just as some proper supports. And then, of course, we want to change all these skins to the steampunk variants to make them look all nice and fancy. There we go. So that opens up a nice little entrance for our build. So that's the first layer of this build done, but then of course we need to start on the roof and the second layer. What we want to do is take out our quarter ceilings, add a little lip here on the side of the build, going all the way from the back to the front. And then here we're gonna do the same thing, but of course it's only gonna go up until where this bit sticks out. And then here we also want to have it. Now, depending on what you did, once again, this will might change a little bit, but in my case, I'm leaving this corner open for the tower that we'll build there in a little bit. Then we want to take out our quarter walls, and we are going to make a little layer of them right along the side like so. And we're going to continue these walls all the way around the build. Also here on top of these walls, just to make sure that we've got everything filled in nicely. Here on the front, we're also continuing it and then following it all the way from the front to the back of the building like so. And then of course we can start the shape of the roof here at the back. What we want to do is have our slope walls like that on the corner. Then we want to take out some of our quarter walls once again and fill in a window here in the middle. We're going to have that same design going on here at the front for as far as we can, of course. Again, depending on where your tower is, this might change. If you do not have the tower, of course, you can just do the exact same as we did on the other side. For now, for us, we're just going to be placing it like this. And of course, adding in our windows. Then it's time to start with the roof. We want to place one right here and one on the outside as a overlap. So we're just going to go all the way across like that. Then on the opposite side, we're going to go along and place 3 roofs right there. And have 1 roof right here. Then of course on this side, we're going to do it slightly differently. We're going to do 1 roof right here so that we have the corner. And then a smaller overhang on the outside, just because that makes this fit a little bit nicer. Then we can take out our roof corners to fill it in and make it match with the rest of the roof. And for this one, we actually want to continue the roof 1 further down, like this. And then have the roof go back in like that, just so that it doesn't really interact with the other roofs too much. Or if you prefer, you could use a full roof as well, but we are going to add a layer of ramps against these. Now this will once again depend a little bit on whether you do have overlapping or not. If you do not have overlapping, you probably just want to make a normal corner roof out of this. Otherwise, we're going to snap a ramp to there. And again, without overlapping, you probably want to keep it like this, but with overlapping, you can go 1 further and kind of overlap into the side of that to get the whole shape. And then on top of here, of course, we're going to continue a layer of ramps like so. And then this, of course, for now, we'll just fill it all the way in. It is going to overlap a little bit inside of the tower. And then here on the other side, we can just do this without any issues all the way through. And then of course also add a layer here at the bottom, but this also shouldn't have any issues or overlapping going on. And then if you want to fill in this top bit a little bit, the best we can do is some upside down railings to kind of fill that in, because unfortunately in vanilla we do not have any piece that fits this gap perfectly. Then we also want to take out our metal beams. And connect them all the way across the bottom of this new layer that we've kind of created. So like that. We also want to have them right here connecting up. There as well. Here we can connect them. Again, this might differ a little bit if you have or don't have overlapping. If your tower is here, you probably want to make sure that it doesn't stick out. If your tower isn't there, of course, just finish the front as normal. And then we'll just continue all the way along the bottom like so. Now, of course, we want to add some extra details by having some railings along the bottom here of the roof front, just to add in those extra details as we have been doing. We also want to add them here on the end of the roofs, as long as they don't overlap into anything, of course. And then we also want to make sure that we add them to the top of the roof, at least over here. And then we're not adding them to the top of the ramps, but of course on the front we want to do the same amount of details, and at the end of these ramps as well. Then after we've placed all these, it's time to take out our steampunk skin and change it all. And this time we can keep the beams as the normal default wooden variant. As for the roof, we want to change this one to have a little window. So here we do that as well. So the one from the end, we have a window. And then here, of course, we'll have a window as well. And then the 2 in the middle will do the same thing. And that already should get us a pretty nice looking steampunk house, where we're pretty much done, except for, of course, having the little tower. And the inside, of course, we want to change as well. So we want to have one ceiling over there and one ceiling over here, so that we can start making our way up to the next layer. So we have stairs like this, stairs like that, and then we can have a stair right here up to the top step. Then we want to have some thin pillars to kind of support that all, like so. You can also add one here if you want to. That does take up a little bit more space on the inside, so I'll leave that up to you. Of course, we want to have some railings next to our stairs, as well as some nice railings along the side here. And then we can just fill in the floor like so and create our layer on top of here. And you can choose how big you want this little gap to be, whether you want some decent headspace when getting upstairs, or a little bit less if you want to add one more ceiling there so we have more space on top. And of course, we can change all these skins to the nice steampunk ones. Alright, then it's time to start on this little tower that we have on the side. So first of all, we want to make sure that we've placed the entire circle all the way around. So I actually need to place an extra one in here. Now, unfortunately, for some reason, the skins don't really like this. They start like doing this weird stuff. So what you can do is deleting the normal floor and then have a ceiling there instead. And that usually helps fixing the problem and the looks of this a little bit. We want to snap a door right here. That's why we needed to make sure that we have the whole tower foundations. Of course, if you build it off to the side, because you can't overlap, it's all going to be a little bit easier. Then we can have 3 normal walls on top of there. And then we want to have another little door entrance right there. And then we continue this until we're basically one higher than the roof or ramps that we have up here. This one, of course, we can just have normal walls all the way up to the top. And you can see I have a slight bit of overlapping inside the tower. Then here on this first layer, I like to have some windows all around just to enjoy the views on the outside. And then there's not going to be a way up in the tower. So here we can actually just make a new floor with some triangle ceilings. Let's make them look nice. And then here on this layer, I actually want windows once more, but we're going to go for a custom window. So we're going to have the tall door frame all the way around for this one. And then we can fill in the normal walls in all the other spots, so that we get our little tower going here. Now, if you want, you could add pillars to all the sides, but you don't necessarily need them with these steampunk skins. And of course, at the top, we want to make sure that we have another layer of ceilings. Here at the bottom, we want to make sure that we've filled in all of our windows. And on this layer, we want to make sure that we've added the greenhouse doors to them so that we have the nice window design. But then we'll add the ladder again on the outside to get the nice details from the steampunk skin. Now again, if you're building this the way I've been building, you'll have some slight gaps. All you need to do on this side is continue the pillar up to the top, because that will fill in the gap. And then here on the other side, you actually just need to place down a quarter wall. If you really want to fill up this gap, you kind of need to have either another quarter wall, but it will stick out a little bit on the other side, or you can have a slope wall, but again, it would stick out on the inside. So I would just live with this tiny little gap that will give you some extra light. Of course, we can also place the door right here. And for these pillars, it might be easier to change the skin from here to the stone variant. And to keep it similar on both sides, you might also want to add the pillars right here on the other side of the window. And of course, don't forget to add the door here at the bottom of the tower as well. And then it's time to start changing the skin for the entire tower that we've built so far. Again, also don't forget about the ladders. Okay, then what we want to do is above the windows, the first two, we want to change to the metal variant. Again, to make it a little bit less busy on the walls. So we're just going to do that basically all the way around. And then here above the second layer of windows, we also want to change one of these back to metal to make it a little bit less busy all the way around. There we go. And then actually here on top of the tower, this is where we can make a little nice spot now. I probably wouldn't really use this too much because it's really difficult to get to. You could make a ladder inside, I guess, if you wanted to reach the top. I would just kind of keep it decorative. So all I would do is starting to make some of these thin pillars to kind of get a little tower going. Now what you might want to do is add maybe a spotlight in here. That could look fun. And what I also like to do is add another layer of ceilings here. You'll see in a little bit why we need that. And then we can just kind of start making a roof with these triangle pieces. But you can add in a little bit of extra detail with a Tesla coil, because if you place that roughly in the middle of this platform, unfortunately there's no snapping, so you kind of have to do it a little bit by hand. You can place this in. I don't know about official settings, but on other settings it looks good. And as soon as you get power, you can even power this on, and then it will extend a little bit higher to give your tower that little bit of extra detail, which just looks a little bit nicer in my opinion. And then we have a nice little tower. I placed this pretty poorly, so yeah, you might want to change this or try this a couple of times until you've placed it somewhat in the middle. And then of course we want to change all these skins to the steampunk variation so that we have our whole build nicely done and we have a cozy little small steampunk base to enjoy. And of course we built this nice tower so we can snap a clock tower right out here. Yeah, because why not? You need that in a steampunk build. A nice clock tower right on your tower, and then we're done. Okay, so here we go. All I really changed about this design is that I have a little bit of plants. That's from the JVH mod that I'm using. Got some chimneys on top, as you can see. That's more of the interior. And I've added a little pipe here to the side just to add the steampunk vibes into it. But yeah, those pipes really are more for show. But yeah, if you want to, you can just add them around. It's basically stacking a couple of water reservoirs, making sure they're lined up with a place where you can maybe connect them with some of these beams. But again, that's totally up to you because it is, of course, a little bit more expensive. And then what you can also do, if you have this balcony sticking out, you can have some scaffolding or slope walls underneath to kind of support it all. But that really depends on your landscaping, of course. Let's go into the build. You can see this one is a little bit higher above the ground, so we have a proper stairs to our doorway. I've used the new rug that was added with Aberration to have a little nice rug inside. I really like using these libraries as decorations for empty walls. We got a little living chamber here just to chill out with the tribe. Added in the piano. As you can see, I've got stained glass. That's from the Architect Structures Remastered mod, which is a proper mod, so you can't have that if you can't install mods or your server that you play on doesn't have this mod. There we go. We have a little very important room in the tower at the bottom here, and then we got a little bit of storage underneath the stair. And then I actually have my crafting out here on the little porch because then I can enjoy the views. Why not? And then of course we have, that's why we have all the particles. We have our greenery with all these plants that we need here on Aberration. And then of course some extra plants from the mod that I use just to really make that greenhouse feeling. Yeah, so that's a little cozy interior here for the bottom. And then upstairs we actually have a little bit more storage. We have plenty of room left here actually to add some more things if I needed it. Got the fireplaces just for the extra nice look. And then in here we have our little room and of course our clock as well to boost our crafting if we want to. So there we go. That is my steampunk starter house build. I hope you enjoyed this build guide. If you did, of course, don't forget to leave a like. It really helps me out a lot. And subscribe to the channel if you want to see more build tutorials. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope to see you next time. Goodbye.